Bob, worldwide tariffs now in place, China and the EU retaliating. Where exactly do things stand?
Well, Anna, the market has voted, and the market is voting to believe that tariffs are inflationary and they're bad for the economy and they're bad for earnings. The S&P, as you see, is up a little bit today, but that's no solace. We're down 19% from the historic high, and that was only in the middle of February. Now, we're going into earnings season right now where companies report their first quarter earnings, and there's a lot of concern. Today, Delta, the biggest airline in the United States, came out and said they don't have any visibility as to what's going on for the rest of the year, and they suspended their guidance. And the worry is that other companies in the next few weeks are going to say exactly that we don't have any visibility. So when nobody has any visibility, Wall Street tends to back away. They get out of the market a little bit, people start selling, and this is what we are seeing now going on. The amazing thing that's making everybody a little crazy, Anna, is the fact that this is not due to some economic downturn that we have been experiencing. The U.S. economy was strong going into this year. This is due to the tariffs that might push us into a recession. And the bottom line, of course, is that is largely self-inflicted. It could change with a tweet. Anna?
Bob, just before we came on air, the EU announced its tariff response. Can you bring us the details of that?
Well, they're going to do essentially somewhat retaliatory tariffs. I haven't seen what exactly the response was because I've been standing here, but they have already said that they're going to have a group response. And of course, this only piles on. We saw what happened with China when they announced retaliatory tariffs. President Trump then put additional tariffs on, and now for China, it's at 104%.
Okay, let's talk to Janice, who's there in Beijing. Take us through China's response, the products that this will impact.
Well, Anna, China is not backing down from what is now an all-out trade war. Officials here announcing more countermeasures, 84% tariffs on U.S. imports, no longer the 34% that they announced last week to match the latest round out of the U.S. They're also adding more than a dozen companies, many of them dealing in drone technology, to an unreliable entities list, which will make it harder for them to do business here. So it is intensifying, and it's heightening these fears of disrupted supply chains, inflation, and global recession, as well as the implications for U.S.-China relations, where trade has always been the backbone. Now, it's U.S. farmers who are going to find it harder to send goods to China, like soybeans and poultry. Some energy products are also being targeted. And there's talk of more to come, like maybe a ban on Hollywood films, possibly cutting off talks on fentanyl cooperation. The tariffs on Chinese goods are going to hike prices on everything from clothes to shoes to toys, basically everything that's in every American household. President Trump has said that China wants to make a deal badly, but there is no indication here that Beijing wants to talk, even as other countries are lining up and looking to the White House to make a deal for some sort of tariff relief. Anna?
Janice Mackey-Frere, thank you for bringing us the latest from Beijing. And now we do have some of the details from the EU imposing these new tariffs, 10 to 25% and more than $24 billion worth of U.S. goods. Tobacco, motorcycles, poultry, steel, and aluminum are included in all of that. Seeing the response from both China and the EU now, is there any word from the White House this morning, Kelly?
Well, certainly the White House is taking the position that the president is all in on this, and we will wait word on what the EU response will be based on what you just read to us. But I will say that the president had a lengthy opportunity to put more sort of direction on his plan in remarks last night, where he spoke for more than an hour. And certainly we're seeing that the responses today so far are not entirely in the direction that the president would want in terms of countries coming together. He said that there are many calling into the White House wanting to do negotiations. We don't have a list of which countries those include. We do know that the Treasury Secretary has said he's begun conversations with Japan. The president also acknowledging that if you line up countries from around the globe to negotiate, that in and of itself would take time, which puts into perspective how this can be a difficult situation. The president wanting to hype one of the reasons for what he says are the necessity of these tariffs, which is in many ways a tariff war of choice, where he sent out a message on social media where he talks about the U.S. is a good place for bringing your businesses here, where he writes, "This is a great time to move your company in the United States, like Apple and so many others in record numbers, are doing. Zero tariffs, he says, almost immediate. Electrical and energy hookups and approvals. That almost sounds like a real estate rent an apartment type appeal. No environmental delays, says the president. Do not wait. Do it now. So you get the sense of the president trying to encourage companies to bring their business here. We've all been discussing for days now how companies need more certainty in order to invest the sizable amount that it would take to bring businesses into the U.S. if it's manufacturing and so forth. Those that already have facilities who can plus up or can make adjustments may have more flexibility. But certainly the president is trying to bang the drum for U.S. manufacturing investment, and that's something that many Republicans certainly support on Capitol Hill, and many Americans who voted for him would like to see more of that. But big questions still today about what the sort of fallout of his decision on tariffs will be.
And he keeps on kind of reiterating the message, the simple narrative of just trust me, just trust me. Here's what he said last night.
Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping. I know what the hell I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And you know what I'm doing, too. That's why you vote for me.
Everyday Americans don't really know what he's doing. Businesses don't know what he's doing. Investors don't know what he's doing, hence all of the uncertainty and fluctuations we're seeing in the market. But it is an interesting shift, Anna, when you look at the retaliation that is a result of the president's actions. China and the EU appearing on the same side in this trade war against the U.S. Could we see China and Europe cozy up to start trading more with each other and leave the U.S. out in the cold?
I mean, it's definitely possible. There are certain European countries that are more inclined to welcome closer relations with China than others. There are certainly Europeans who also have a lot of concerns about closer relationships with China or U.S. tariffs pushing more Chinese goods into Europe as well. But I do think you're seeing this situation where other countries are deciding that if the United States is not going to be a close trading partner, they're going to have to find other ways to trade around the United States.
We also heard the president last night saying that his next move will be tariffs on the pharmaceutical industry. So he's not done yet. Americans already pay about 3 times more for medication compared to other developed countries. So what kind of impact could that have, Anna?
Yeah, that's right. So tariffs on pharmaceuticals, also critical minerals, other goods could be in the works. And you're right. I mean, those tariffs on pharmaceuticals could really hit Americans. I think that's something the White House is cognizant of. But still, tariffs just naturally push up prices for goods. That's part of the point of tariffs. A lot of our pharmaceuticals come from India right now. The second major supplier is China, which is also facing, as we were saying, more than 100% additional tariff. So that could really start to push up the price of these essential products.